where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
I'm your host, Michael Hughes, with my co-host,
Jonathan Parker.
So we'd like to thank, we got to start each show. We want to thank our sponsors, Jonathan, like we do every week. And we want to thank our title sponsors once again this year is Kobe McKinney with Underwood Realty.
Want to thank #Hollies and Be the Gift for our Player of the Week segment.
And then we want to thank Infinity Promotions, who does our backdrop and our tablecloth and some of our apparel you guys see here. We couldn't do that, and we got one more new sponsor this year.
Yes, we've got our coaches segment, which is sponsored by Anthony Hackett, a Farm Bureau agent out of Macon County who shares your commitment to protecting your family's future. Farm Bureau offers tailored auto, home, and life insurance coverage to meet your budgetary needs. For a quote that provides the peace of mind and your neighbors deserve, please visit our website or visit Anthony or contact Anthony at 615-666-4025.
And Jonathan, another week of great high school football action, another great week of middle school football action. Smith County Middle School here this Thursday night wins the UCC championship, goes 8-1 on the season. Smith County loses you say it was a tough game, but then the score don't really give you that. Turnovers kind of kill Smith County, but then Gornsville goes up to Westmoreland and really dominates the Eagles up there.
Absolutely. Another week, it's crazy to think, we're in, week 7?
Week 7.
It's crazy how quickly the season goes. We look at it, we got 3 games left of the regular season. And again, kudos to Gordonsville and what they're doing. They're 7-0, they're rocking and rolling. And a tough one here in the hole on Friday night. The score was not you look at the stat sheet, it's really not indicative of the score. But Cannon County kind of come in and the turnover bug bit us. But again, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, and we'll start looking at the college realm this week too. And Tennessee has an off week. We talk about Tennessee because that's really the team we follow. But Tennessee has an off week. But there's other big games in the SEC this week. And highlight was probably Vanderbilt and Alabama. And kudos to Alabama because I was so glad they beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, absolutely. Diego Pavia might want to think about not running his mouth as much because you look at it from a standpoint. Last year they beat Alabama, but for me, they hadn't played anybody yet. That was their first true test. They had to go down to Tuscaloosa. They were ready for them. And Vanderbilt came out and played really good for the first quarter. But at the end of the day, I was telling my dad, I said, I still think Bama beats them by 2 touchdowns. And at the end of the day, they beat them 30-14. But now listen, I give a lot of credit to Clark Lee and what he's doing. And, even Pavia's playing great. I just think he's kind of got Baker Mayfield in his corner now and kind of running his mouth a little bit. Let's table that till you win something, till you can show us what you've done to this point. And for me, we're going to find out what Vanderbilt is made of because their schedule is rough coming up.
Well, and you look at it too. I think Pavia's he's going to rethink doing his victory formation, whatever he did. But to start the game in warm-ups, and then he gets into it with some Alabama fans, going off the field. You're supposed to be a big-time quarterback, and I wouldn't say Vanderbilt's a big-time ACC program, but you're an ACC program.
Right.
You've got to you can't really do that, in my opinion.
No, you can't add fuel to the fire either before a week or after the week because that's only going to fuel the fire for your next opponent. And he has produced at a very good level this year, but let's table it till we actually do something. And again, I really think Vanderbilt is going to be a tough out for everybody on their schedule remaining, but I also know that their schedule is really tough the next few weeks.
It is, and you look at an ACC battle last night with Florida State and Miami, which I kind of thought might be a good game, but turned in. Miami kind of dominated. I mean, the score don't give you that, but Miami dominated that game from start to finish.
Absolutely. You 28-22, but that's not indicative. I mean, Miami kind of took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, I thought, in the second half. They were up 28-3.
I think 28-7.
28-7. And it was really never a competitive ball game up until, the waning moments of the fourth quarter when, Florida State comes in and scores 2 late touchdowns to make it a 28-22 ball game. But, for me, looking at Miami, looking at what Beck is doing, they're a team that's going to be reckoned with the rest of this season.
And we would talk about this regardless if Coach Whit Davis was sitting here with us right now tonight to watch our show. But the upset of the week it has to be UCLA going into Penn State going to UCLA, getting upset by Nico and the UCLA Bruins, who've not done anything offensively all year long, and come in and Penn State comes into the Rose Bowl and leaves with a loss.
And you look at it from a standpoint of, we talked about big game James Franklin last week, not being able to win the big game, and then kind of, I felt like from listening to his press conference after the game, kind of threw his players under the bus a little bit. He said, well, it's on me. We weren't up for this. But you're playing a team that's 0-4. They have not led in a game all season long. And you give up 42 points to them. It's just very confusing to me at what Franklin's doing at Penn State.
Yeah, Nico goes from dud to stud, but he always be a dud in my book from here on out. He'll never be a stud ever again.
But in the grand scheme of things, you look at it from a Tennessee perspective, that win kind of helps Tennessee a little bit.
Well, it vaulted them up. People getting beat from moved up 3 spots into 12 in both polls, and that win did help quite often. I mean, quite a bit for the Vols.
And then another game that was kind of a confusion to me was Florida beating Texas 29-21. Another subpar performance by Arch Manning. I can't figure him out. You look at it from a standpoint, he had 25 yards rushing or 23 yards rushing. I think
he had 30-something yards rushing, but led the team in rushing.
Yeah. And because the running backs had 15. So they've got an offensive line issue right now, and they go into the swamp. Cajun Billy saves his job again, possibly. Depending on how the season progresses, they've not looked good in any game all season long. But, again, a big win for him and the Florida Gators.
And that takes us, we're talking about the scores. If you want to do a quick recap of local scores around, and then we'll jump into our Beat the Dads Week to Pick'em segment.
Absolutely. So the high school scores from the week, we had Clay County with a 30-20 win over Middle Tennessee Christian. DeKalb beats York soundly 35-7. Lebanon continues to roll. They're unbeaten, beat Wilson Central 42-12. Jackson County goes into Trousdale County and beats them 21-14. Oakland, again, what else can you say? They finally give up double digits in a game, but still win 35-14. Stone Memorial with a big 34-27 win over Macon County. And, of course, our two local high schools, Gordonsville beats Westmoreland 41-0, and Cannon County comes into the hole and beats Smith County 50-25.
And we had our middle school score on there too. Our middle school score this past Thursday night, we beat the Fentress County Crush. You can go ahead and touch the ball.
I just want to touch it.
The Fentress County Crush. We beat we talk about the Crush. We'll talk about Coach Gams. Had no idea this was called a Crush, and I've been coaching for 15 years. But beat them 24-16 to win the UCC championship, like we mentioned. But that takes us into, Matthew, if we'll pull up, we'll go into our weekly pick'em results here. And, out of all the 50 entries, we had one 10-0 perfect record. And for this week, for somebody to go 10-0 was baffling to me. I did not think anybody would do better than 7-3.
When I picked the games this week, I was like, there is no way. 7-3 is going to win this week. There's going to be a bunch of ties. There's going to be a lot of but again, congratulations to Shay Hale for going 10-0. And Terry Collins goes 9-1. Our weekly guest picker goes 9-1 this week.
And I stopped Terry here Friday night, and I said, Terry, hey, I want you to be our weekly guest picker. Give me your picks. He said, okay, read them off. He couldn't see my phone, so I had to read them off to him. So he goes 9-1. He does have a flip phone. Yes, he does have a flip phone. Coach Gammons is here. He went 6 on the 4. Didn't have a good week for Coach Gammons while he was here this week. As far as the dads go, actually, Matt won this week. He goes 8-2, and Jonathan, you finished last this week. That's
little struggle this week for JP.
I think it might be a little karma coming back the way you kind of talked about Matt last week and how bad he's did.
Well, but still, I'm still leading the Dugout Dads at 31-9.
Yeah.
Still not reached double digits in losses yet.
And you look at our standings here, of our weekly pickers that we have, and Shay Hale takes the lead going 33-7, followed by Coach Shaw right in behind him. And then Jonathan, of course, you. And then Coach Gammons and Coach Dyer there are tied in our weekly pickers. I am leading the back of the pack, as you say.
You've got to quit picking with your heart.
I need to quit picking with my heart, pick with my mind. You're right. So we're going to go ahead and congratulations to Shay Hale for winning this week. Shay, we'll get you a $20 gift card to Amazon. We'll send that out to you this week. Guys, we'll post this week's games on our Facebook page either tonight or tomorrow, and keep joining. You know, we've had 50 the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're trying to up that a few more, but we've had consistently 50 guys that in fact guys and ladies actually that enter the picks of the week. And if I didn't, I'd be remiss if I didn't say in my family group, we do a family contest every week. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Kyle, my daughter's boyfriend, he went 8-2 this week.
Congratulations, Kyle.
But Shay, we'll get you your gift card. And like I say, guys, keep joining that. We have fun doing that. It's something that we came up with a few weeks ago. And this is something that's fun. And we really love the participation in that.
Absolutely. We love it. It's fun. And I guess I'm going to start picking tougher games because we can't keep having these 10-0s.
So we're going to move on, and we're going to bring in Coach John Gammons from the Smith County Middle School, our head coach. And then we're going to have a special night tonight because we have Coach Gammons here, and then we actually have some middle school players here that's going to join us. We're going to talk to those guys, and we'll bring in Coach Gammons. He's going to come up and we'll talk to him just for a few minutes here about this past week's game.
How's it going, fellas?
How's it going, Coach?
It's going great. Going great.
Would be remiss to say congratulations.
Appreciate it. Big time win the other night. I was extremely proud of the effort out of our guys on Thursday.
Sorry, you got to move the ball that way. There you go. There you go.
I was extreme. I kind of leaned over too, so I'm probably hiding behind it. But I'm extremely proud of the way we fought. We definitely, for 4 quarters, you could tell in the second half. And I told the guys, I said, this Fentress County team ain't going to lay over. And sure enough, they didn't. They gave us a hard-fought battle in the second half. And I was just glad that we continued fighting and made some big plays down the stretch to get it done.
And you look at it, you go into the game and, come off a pretty big win the week before against White County. Come out pretty solid performance there defensively. We started out fast against White County, and once again come in this Thursday night, and we start out quick. 16 points within the first couple minutes there, and we start out quick. And then you roll, and then Joe San Antonio takes the kickoff back in the second. I think it was second half. Second half takes the kickoff back for a touchdown. We go up 24-0 at that point. Kind of got the game in wraps there, and then Fentress just don't quit. Right? They don't quit. They keep coming at us and score 2 touchdowns to make it an 8-point game.
Mm-hmm. And it was, I think on the Dugout Dash, I said it was less than a minute. All 3 touchdowns that we scored.
Yes.
So just to touch on that, the first quarter time of possession was 7:51 to Fentress, 9 seconds to Smith County Middle School.
That just, that just shows you just how electric, our guys are on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like that has been noticeable just about in every game that we've played in. Every team has got a glimpse of that, and it's been very hard to stop. And especially at the middle school level, it's really, for as much as that we did this year offensively, like that's one thing too. Like we get in several different formations, and we're all running the same stuff out of those formations, but we get in different looks, giving these guys a hard time to adjust to what we're trying to do. And we're electric. I mean, it's just so hard to stop, and especially, for Fentress County, like that's hard for them. That they're wearing us out right there for a little bit in the first quarter. Even the first drive, they fumble it, we get the ball back, we score the first play, and then another long drive, and then we stop them right down here on the I guess it's around the 10-yard line, and then we get the ball back and we go 90-something yards first play. So like that is just shows you the capabilities that we have had this year, just how well we do at every spot, not just from the skill spot, but up front as well, how we're able to block up front and give our guys an opportunity to house the first play. So just shows you just how electric our guys have been this year.
And I tell you what, though, I've coached for quite a few years, and I don't know if I've ever coached a team that had more one-play drives than our middle school team had this year. And I don't know how many one-play drives we had, but it was at least a handful or more.
Yeah, it was a bunch. I mean, it was like, it's one of those things that you look at it too, and like you see these games where offenses, they'll get going too early, and then the other team, they can kind of take their time and kind of do what they want against you at their own will. And sometimes it can be a curse to be that electric. But for us, I feel like on the other side of the ball, we were able to maintain the other team defensively. Like whenever we were playing them, we were able to keep them in check, get off the field, create turnovers. So, I feel like that just shows you just how well our guys performed. And not only the first two phases, but all three phases. We took care of every spot that we needed to. And that's what made us so hard to beat. At the end of the day, is just how well we executed our jobs and what we did.
And I want to give a shout out to Smith County High School for allowing us to come here. Dugout Dad's allowing us to be here and live stream the game. It was a great atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great game. But Coach, I guess for me, and I'm gonna ask a tough question here.
Yep.
Those quick one score, plays that we have, it seemed like it might have wore our defense out a little bit, because you look at Fentress County in the second half. Fentress County, time of possession game, it's not always one of those things you look at, but and be successful, but they dominated time of possession. But we had so many explosive plays that so talk to us how it kind of, our players were kind of lacking in the third and fourth quarter.
No, I mean, it fatigued us for sure. They did a good job. They made some adjustments out of half. You could tell that they were going to stop anything from A gap to C gap, and they did a really good job at that. I mean, it forced us to get a little bit outside of our comfort zone a little bit. We had to rely on the D gap plays that we don't normally do. Normally that's our home run hitters, is when we go D gap, when we see something, they're doing to us defensively based out of a certain formation. So, no, I mean, it wore us down a little bit. You could tell that, guys were getting fatigued, and especially on offense, I think there was a couple times we may have went 3 and out. We may went 3 and out one time. And then I know there was another time that we got a first down, but then we turned it over. And so, them getting the ball in their hands a lot really wore us out. But, thankfully, this goes back to, how well in shape our guys are too. I feel like, they could have easily laid down because they're just wearing on us. But I feel like just through what the guys have been put through this summer, that allowed them to go another step and make another play like we did at the very end. And so, thankful we made a couple more plays than they did. But, yeah, no, definitely it did wear us out. And kudos to York. They had a good game plan. They're not going to get out of what they do. And they actually did. They actually shown something that they haven't done all year long. And that just shows how well that our guys executed what they were doing against what they tried to do us in the first half to go to something they hadn't done all year. So, yeah, really, really extremely proud of the way the guys responded.
So, a great season. We go 8-1. We won the conference championship, but we also had some all-region play or all-conference players there. Yeah. You want to name off those all-conference players?
And with the all-conference, one thing I got to say about it, like this whole team is, to me, an all-conference team. They really contribute each and every way in all aspects of the game. So, like picking, we got 6, and picking 6. I hate to do that because it really doesn't show how well coached and how hard effort our guys worked, how they executed day in and day out. So, just because these 6 guys got the all-conference, award doesn't mean that the other guys that didn't get it doesn't deserve it, because they do. Because at the end of the day, I could have put every single guy that's contributed some way on this all-conference team. But, yeah, the 6 guys that made it was Colton Jenkins, Jaden Agee, Joe San Antonio, Riley Bass, Caden Wilkerson, and Bryson Maneri. But like I said, those 6 guys, there's other 6 guys. You got Braxton Davis, Conan Menez, Hagan Starnes, Titus Russell, be huge. And there's other ones that we could have put on that team that probably deserve it. And so just because those 6 guys got it, that for me, I could have easily put those other 6 guys and said they deserved it as well. So it just shows you how much of a team effort that we played this year. Typically with middle school guys, you got 1 or 2 guys that are really well, they're really good. But with this team, everybody that was on the field contributed in some way.
Well, heck of a year we had this year. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to the team. And that leads us into our player segment. So tonight we have 4 middle school players here. And Coach Gammons, what we want to do is give you a moment to actually talk about all 4 of these actually 8th graders that we brought up here tonight, and give you a minute to talk about them. Then we got a couple of questions for those guys.
Absolutely. I'd be excited to talk about some of these guys. Y'all want me to start by
either way you want
to go? Either way I want to go.
Either way you want to go.
I guess I'll go this way. So over here to my far right, this is Colton Jenkins. For anybody that doesn't know, this is number 14. He played quarterback for us at the beginning of the year defensively. He played a lot of safety, but, we moved him down to linebacker because we made some adjustments defensively. But that just shows you kind of the guy that he is. See, he's one of those guys you can rely on to make a play and to do whatever you want him to do, and he's been that since day one. And he doesn't say a lot, he's one of those guys. Sometimes you want to get something out of him, like, hey, do this, and he'll just like give you that blank stare. But that just shows you who he is. He's willing to be coached. He's willing to get better at what he does, and it really made a lot of good plays for us this year on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And he's been one of our true leaders on the team. He's really led the pack, and he's always led by an example and what the guy should do. And this guy right here, this guy's he's going to be a star in the next 4 years. He's going to be a guy that people look forward to on Friday nights when you get to watch him, just because of how electric he is, and also the team first guy that he is. It's not about him. It's about the team first, and he's always been that way, and he would tell you that himself. But no, we're definitely going to miss this guy going into next year. But I'm excited to see where he can go the next 4 years at the high school level. And then we got Braxton Davis right here to the left of him. He played center for me this year and nose guard. And he's another one of our true team leaders that we have. He's one of those that never complains about anything, always willing to go the extra mile for you, always doing what he's supposed to do. And, one thing about Braxton is, like, I don't know that he had one really bad. He maybe had one that might have been a low snap, but he's always doing his snaps well. Like, he takes his job seriously, and just, I don't know that he gave up pressure all year long on the offensive side of the ball. But no, Braxton, he's one of my other leaders that has really stepped up and really done what he's done all year. Always there, always showed up to practice, no matter when and what was going on. And he's definitely another guy that the high school is going to be thankful to have, just from a sense of the work that he puts in all the time. And then also, too, what he provides on the football field as well. He's going to be a guy that people look forward to. But then if we cut over to, I guess it'll be to the camera side, to the right side, but my left side, we got B. Hughes right here. Talk about B. He's, B, this going into this year, he was accustomed to, playing at the receiver spot, the tight end spot. And at the beginning of the year, we had some circumstances that forced him into position there for a little bit that he wasn't used to playing. And the fact that just shows you who he is, that he's willing to do whatever for the team, and that he took that, he embraced that spot and where we wanted him this year. And really, truthfully, at the D line spot there late in the year, he really made some crucial plays down for us down late in the stretch. The White County game, there's plenty of times where, White County, they like to run a lot of inside zone, and he took care of that. They really couldn't do what they wanted to. But B, as term of a leader, he's also a great leader. Also leads his guys by example. Never complains. Always willing to do what you want him to do. And just a guy that is always willing to go the extra mile. And I'm super proud of the way that he embraced the roles that he did this year. Never complained, not once, and just took that. Never took it for granted. I took that as an opportunity to get on the field and do what needed to be best to help the team. And also looking forward to see what he can do the next 4 years as well, and how he grows from there. And then lastly, we got Joe San Antonio. He played
Joe Boy.
Joe Boy.
Joe Boy.
That's what he likes to be called. So, all the Smith County fans that don't know him, going into next year, you might hear him called Joe Boy. May not know who that is, but that's number 17 over here. He played running back for us, and he also played linebacker late in the year. At the beginning of the year, he's playing a weak side end for us. But no, Joe Boy, he's one of those guys that you rely on when you need to make a play, and he was always there for you. Whenever you needed that yard, you tell him, Joe, listen, I need 1-2 more yards out of you. I need one more play out of you. And that dude was going to get it for you. And one thing I got to say about Joe is just how much he's grown to a leadership level that he is. He's really matured on the field, willing to getting the guys in order. He's one of the guys too. He'll come down to him. He's like, Coach, why don't we do this? I think this could work for us offensively. And, he sees the game. He's pretty smart in the game and knows what's going on. And he's always, like I said, he's always willing to go the extra mile for you. Just the effort that he provided for us at the linebacker spot late in the year. We made the move to move him to linebacker. I guess it was after the Upperman game, and you could significantly see him and Cole. Moving them two at the linebacker spot significantly improved our second level on defense. And I think that move right there is what bolted us into a big playoff run to win a championship this year. And that's just show once again that just shows you the ability these guys have to be put in a role that they're not accustomed to. And that's what makes them so, like, I'm trying to think the word I'm wanting to say. It's like intriguing.
Yeah, sorry, Cole Jimenez, the grandma. I just called him Joe Boy, the homecoming king. Even if they called him the homecoming queen, he was a beast on the field, right? So.
Absolutely. And so, and I'm just super proud about what these eighth graders have accomplished. 19 total eighth graders, in total. We started out the year with 22 guys on the team, and I would say at the time, probably 14 of them was playing.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, a lot of these teams, as playing, they got 50 or 60 guys, and they're playing 20 something plus guys in and out offensively and defensively. And we're playing a bunch of guys both ways, all three phases of the game. And to still have the success that we had this year just goes to show you about the effort level of this group, and that they don't care what's in front of them. They're going to step up to the task, and they're going to get the job done. And they did that all year long. And I've told people, this group right here is going to do some special things in the next 4 years. And I just hope that they can stick together and continue to work to improve themselves and to continue to get better. Because I'm telling you, it's going to be a special group, and they're going to do some special things within the next 4 years.
So, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you guys some life lesson skills tonight, right? We're going to teach you a little bit of public speaking. We're going to have to ask you questions. You get to answer a question back. All right, so we're going to give y'all some life lessons tonight. All right, Coach Gammas, we're going to teach them how to do.
Let's do it.
I mean, it's a life lesson, right?
It is a life lesson.
All right, so Joe Boy, we're going to start with you. So I'll give you the mic there. And Joseph, you played football for a long time, right? You started in the youth league. You played for Coach Jenkins, Coach Witt, Coach Davis, myself for a long time. You won multiple championships in youth league, and now you've won a couple in middle school. But what was your best part of playing this year with your teammates and this year being on the championship team?
My favorite part was just about how we all grew and matured during that season, and especially the Upperman game whenever we all just kind of went down, and then how we came back in that Macon game.
Great. That's a great answer there.
That's pretty good.
All right, so we'll pass the mic to B here, B, and being your dad, I get to ask you the toughest question on the panel here tonight. But you talk about, Coach Gammon said, you played a lot of different positions this year on the middle school team, right? You kicked, you long snapped, you played defensive line, you played tight end, even started to tackle. What was the best moment for you this year as well, going in and having a championship season?
I think whenever I had that long kickoff to put them back in the championship game.
Which was a great kickoff, and I actually Coach Dyer even said it, because we'll bring Coach Dyer up, and Coach Dyer did play-by-play. And if you didn't listen to our play-by-play broadcast and Coach Dyer's excitement doing the play-by-play broadcast, you missed it. So that's something that we're going to get Coach Dyer to do more often, I promise you. But you did. You're right. You kicked it 51 yards, so that's great. So Coach Parker, we'll move down to you.
So Braxton, I'll start with you. So you played how many years you played football?
7.
7 years. So what do you want your lasting memory to be as an eighth grader at Smith County Middle School?
I wanted my lasting memory to be at Smith County Middle School was obviously winning a championship like we did. And in the championship game, I also had on the second play offense, I had a nice pancake that I liked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Colton, I'm going to ask you the same question. You being the quarterback of this team winning a championship, how did you guys come together as one and win this championship? And then tell me what you want your legacy to be.
That Upperman game, I feel like we really needed that Upperman game, because that Upperman game, it made us realize that we are not unbeatable. We can't lose. And it made us come together stronger as a team leading up into the Macon County game. And I want my legacy to be, I want to win a state in high school. That's what I want my legacy to be.
So, Coach, we're going to let you keep the mic there, and we do this to every student segment. You guys have never been a part of our student segment before, right? So, we're going to give us your best memory of Coach Gammons this year, his first year coaching you, your best memory of Coach Gammons, no matter what it is.
It's got to be in preseason, in the indoor. Whenever I walked up to him, and one of my friends on Snapchat texted me and said, "Ask Coach Gammons what he thinks about Hootie." And then we had like a 30-minute conversation about Hootie.
Braxton, same question to you.
I think my favorite memory I've had from Coach Gammons was probably when he got the Gatorade or water bucket dumped on his head.
But I don't know if you could say it dumped on his head, more like smashed on his
Yeah.
head.
Smashed on my head. And then the next week, Thursday night, it ruins the SIM card of my phone. So, it just water baths just don't go good for me, I don't guess. So,
B, same question to you.
I think it was whenever Colton threw that ball to Jaden and he caught it and he was jumping up and down on the sideline.
Yo, boy?
I think it's whenever, like, during practice, we would, like, keep messing up. And, like, he would start, like, swinging his leg back and forth to do his little crouch thing that he does.
Coach, they actually pay attention to what you're doing.
They do. They give me a hard time. It's funny because I have a bad habit of saying, when I'm trying to talk, I'll say a word after every sentence. And they always said that I said, right. So they'll all walk around, they'll go, right. And I don't say it like that, but I guess I do. They watch me every way, everything that I do, I guess. But that just, and that just shows you too how much they pay attention to practice. So that's a good thing. So.
Well, I would say, and to echo what the boys say, when you say right, me and Coach Jenkins and the coaching staff, we'd sit, when you'd be talking, we'd be like, wonder how many times he's going to say right tonight. Yeah. It's going to be quite a few.
Well, Coach Jet, sometimes I'll say okay. So every time, if I'm talking at the high school practice, I'll say okay. And, Coach Jet will be like, who Mr. Mackey is off South Park? That's that, an adult cartoon. He said, you said okay about 50 times. I said, well, I don't realize it. I'm trying to get my point across. So I don't mean to do that, so.
Well, guys, hey, we appreciate you guys coming on. We appreciate you guys being here. I know it's something we wanted you guys to do. Coach Gammons, a heck of a year for our middle school team. Heck of a year to these guys and all the all-conference guys. But congratulations to you, and we look forward to seeing what you do next year.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all guys. Thank y'all for, showing these guys, giving these guys an opportunity to be talked about every week. I think that's something big. And it gets their name out there, and I appreciate you guys bringing me on as well, so I can talk a little bit about them. So.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate y'all.
Guys.
Appreciate it.
And Jonathan, as we talked about, this middle school team was, you hear this thing all the time people put out, a fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
This middle school team was a fun team to watch.
They were.
Because they were so electric, and they had a chance to take it to the house every play. And Coach Dyer and you guys, you really talked about that this past on the broadcast, that they are electric. And Coach Dyer said it. Look, we can go. We get down here, he may take it 94 yards, and then Coach Jenkins takes it 94 yards for a touchdown.
Absolutely. I mean, and the explosiveness that you have on that team at the skill position players just shows a different skill set. Again, like we talked about, you think about the time of possession. You want to be a ball control offense. You want to be able to go down the field, take time off the clock. But this team was not that team. This team could score points in mere seconds. And so, again, congratulations to Coach Gammon, the players. Again, 19 eighth graders he's going to have to replace next year. I know that's going to be tough, but just really happy for a championship. And I know he's going to be looking for big things next year.
So we'll move over to our high school segment. We'll bring Coach Dyer up, and we actually got a few players going to come up with him tonight too. And we're going to bring Coach Dyer up, and we're going to talk a little bit about Westmoreland, and then we're going to go into and actually have our player segment with all the guys. Bryson, you can come down here and sit down here. I promise you I don't smell. If I do, I apologize for that too. But we got Coach Matt Dyer in with us tonight. And, Coach, we come in here and we look like we started out. We had a great game plan going into the Cannon County game because you talked about last week. They're going to go fast. They're kind of, they do what they do, right? You said that multiple times. They do what they do. And they did what they did. Turnover bug bit us a little bit, and you saw that, a few scooping scores, and that hurt us a little bit. Then the penalty bug got us. But coming out of the Friday night game, what did you guys see? What are you guys looking to correct this week?
Well, like the biggest thing we prepped for was their tempo. I feel like we did a really good job handling their tempo. That was the biggest thing we stressed our guys all week was They're going to go fast. They're going to go fast. Be able to keep up with that, get lined up. And I felt like we did a good job with that. We gave up the one big play. They caught us in a blitz, and our safety didn't get over the top where he needed to be. But, that was a good call by them, and just against the blitz that we had. We brought both linebackers what we call a Brady blitz and A gaps because we knew we wanted to pressure them. On all the films, they hadn't handled pressure very well, so it was a third and 2, 3rd and 3, I think. So we wanted to bring extra gap pressure, make sure we were coming our gaps. And it was a good play by them. But I felt like defensively, I felt like we did a decent job enough against them, especially early, defending what they did. I think we actually outgained them in total yards. I might be wrong. I haven't seen our stat sheet yet.
Actually, I think we have it, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're right there. It was 368, 323.
Yeah. So, so I felt like we did well defending what they did. Now, later in the second half, we did not tackle as well as we did in the first half. We were hitting them at the line of scrimmage or a 1-yard gain. It would turn into a 4-yard gain or a 7-yard gain. And there's a big difference between, 2nd and 8 than it is 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3. But, the biggest thing was we spotted them probably 21 points. And, anytime that you give an opposing team 21 points like that, it's hard to be successful. It's hard to come back from it. We had our opening drive where we fumble inside the 10-yard line. And especially like an offense like Cannon County, you cannot give an explosive offense like theirs a short field to operate like that. So essentially, they won the coin toss, so they deferred. So they essentially had 2 opening drives because of that fumble, and they had the quick score off of it. But we settled down after that one, and we started having a lot of good drives in that first half. We strung together some first down plays. We had some scoring plays of our own, and but the 2 scooping scores really hurt us, especially the one after Dylan Raines had the big 50, I want to say 60-yard run down to the 10-yard line, 8-yard line, something like that. And then the very next play, they called a timeout, and then that was their second scoop and score of the night, I believe, at that point. But, that's essentially 21 points that we gifted them, and it's hard to come back from that. It's hard to fight, scratch, and claw when you give a team that many points. But our guys fought hard. They played hard for all 4 quarters, and at the end of the night, that's the most you can ask for your guys is that just continue to play hard, continue to fight, and I felt like our guys did a good job doing that.
And Coach, for me, how difficult is it when you've got an up-tempo offense like that? How difficult is it to get the plays in on defense, to get lined up when they're snapping the ball every 3 or 4 seconds?
Yeah. The biggest thing is you have to try to keep it as simple as possible. So what we prepared for throughout the week in practice was if we were going to make a call like a stun or blitz or something like that, it was only going to be to the field. So anything we wanted to make a call for, it was going to be simple like that because and that's how we did our alignment. We had a field alignment and a boundary alignment, and we didn't want any confusion on any calls where we still wanted to bring pressure. So, that's the biggest way to prepare for that is when you can just do field and boundary, and it helps kind of slow the process, the thinking process down for your players. At the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to make things as simple as possible for your guys. You want them playing fast. You don't want them thinking so much to where they can just react. They can react and go. And that's what we wanted to do was keep it simple, keep our calls light, and that way we had an easy communication going from sideline out onto the field to battle their tempo.
Yeah, and you look at it. We had, like you said, we sustained a few drives. The running game come back. The running game come back Friday night. We had a great night rushing the ball. We threw the ball. Pretty decent as well at times. But then those scooping scores you look at, and then the costly penalties. But the one penalty that I want to ask you about, and of all my years of football, I know I'm illiterate when it comes to football. People will tell you that every day. The kickoff of the second half, where we catch it in the air. And they call it, is it illegal touching? Is that what what is the explanation they gave?
It is illegal touching. The ball has to hit the ground. The argument we tried to make was that when he kicked it off, it hit the ground. So, like he kicked it, it hit the ground, went up, and then it would be a live ball for you to catch. But they said it didn't. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. That's an argument you have to make, as a head coach to try to plead your case. But yes, it's got to hit the ground at least once before you can take possession of it. Much like an onside kick, when you kick that ball, it's got to hit an opposing player or it's got to hit the ground before you can take possession of it. So it was illegal touching by us. But, my case was like the ball hit the ground once he kicked it off the tee. So it was like, hit the tee, boom, hit the ground, and it popped up, and it should have been a live ball for us. But that was the argument that we made. No, and you can't never blame a game on the refs because, like I always say, you can't put yourself in a position for that to be blamed on there. But, there were some missed calls or misinterpretations of the rules, such as the first touchdown we scored when we come out in our swinging gate or polecat. We're 7 weeks into the season now, and every pregame meeting that we have with the referees, we tell them, they always ask, do you have any special plays, formations that we should be made aware of that, we should talk about? I said, we got swinging gate, polecat, whatever you want to call it, where all of our linemen line up to the left. They're all on the ball. Our snapper has an eligible number. He's the end man. And then we have 2 receivers to his right off the ball that makes him eligible because he has the eligible number. Then they say that is correct. That is a legal formation for him to possess the ball after the snap. That's okay. All right, good. So we tell same crew, that, and then they flag us for illegal man downfield. So we get the explanation. It's like, why did you flag us for illegal man downfield? They said, well, he has to be between the tackles to be eligible to snap the ball. So that's when we say, well, we've done that for 7 weeks now, and that is not the rule. And they said, well, then that's wrong. But then you go back and you look at the rule, it clearly states, as long as he is the end man in the line of scrimmage with an eligible number, the snapper is a eligible receiver. So I believe they got that wrong. But like I said, that one penalty wasn't going to change the course of the game.
Right.
But, it's just the interpretation of the rules. You just want a clear understanding with different officiating crews. But like I said, you never want to put yourself in a position where an officiating crew can, win or lose you the game. So, but it is frustrating when the rules are interpreted by different crews in different ways.
Well, and it has to be extremely frustrating because when you look at it, there was 23 penalties in that game.
Total.
Total.
Yeah.
23 for almost 200 yards. And what challenge, because it seemed like at times it would take 2 minutes for them to make a call. And so what challenges does that present to you and your coaching staff when you're having to set and wait and they're trying to huddle? Because it seemed like to me that they'd have 2 here and then have to bring another guy in.
No.
It was very frustrating from my perspective to see that.
Well, it just messes with the flow of the game. Especially if it's going in your favor, your momentum, you want the flow of the game to continue. You want it to go at a pace to where your guys are comfortable and they're playing, and you don't want to get out of that momentum. You don't want to get out of that pace. And then when you have a conference going on for, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and like you said, there were a lot of lulls in gameplay. And 15 to 18-year-old kids, man, when you get them out of the groove, it's a lot like other sports, especially say a pitcher. If there's something going on in a baseball game where there's a stoppage in play and a pitcher's feeling it, he's feeling the groove. Well, once you get him out of his, kind of zone, well, he might have a hard time finding that again. Same way in a basketball game. If your 5 guys are, sitting there just running up down the court and then they're smooth, they're moving with each other and there's a lull in play, it gets them out of that rhythm. So the same thing happens with football. If you sit there and have continuous stoppage going on and on and on, it ruins the flow of the game. Sometimes you just got to let the guys play. But, on the flip side too, sometimes you got to, as a player, you got to be more disciplined. You got to be more mature, and we had some issues with that, Friday night or throughout this year where, we make a play. I think it was the one that sticks out in my mind is we make a play to make it 3rd and 9. And, we hit the guy, he goes out of bounds. And then, one of our guys just has to say something, or they got to do that extra little push or shove, and boom, that's a 15-yard penalty. You just made a great play to make it 3rd and 9. You put them in a bad spot behind the chains, but since you can't control your emotions, your maturity, you gave them now a free 15 yards and a first down. So that's just something we got to be better at. We got to be a little bit more mature and a little bit more accountable for our actions too. We can complain about the refs all we want to, but at the end of the day, that's on us. That's on us as a team.
So we get out of Friday night. Friday night's behind us now. We put that region game. We go out of region this week. Marion County comes to town, right? Moore County. Moore County comes here for our last home game of the season.
Yep.
So what do you see on them? What are we looking at to go 1-0 this week?
Their record is very deceiving. They're 1-5. They played some really good competition. They've got a good quarterback, and they got a good wide receiver, and they got a big offensive line. And once again, it's a team that they know their identity. And so they're going to do what they do. They love to keep the game in tight. They like to draw you in, and then they're going to hit you with some type of perimeter run play or some type of RPO because they want to offensively. They want to bring you in. They're going to run it, get those safeties down, maybe get those corners eyes peeking in the backfield or get those linebackers wanting to scoot closer line of scrimmage. And then they've got a pretty good RPO game off of that. And then defensively, they're going to be a man defense. They like to have their bodies up front. They're going to play man behind it. They love to high pressure you. And so, if you're wanting to throw the ball, you're going to have to get it out quick because they love bringing extra bodies. You don't have a lot of time to get stuff down the field. So if you're going to work your quick game or your play action, the ball's got to be coming out fast. That's just what we've seen so far in the film for Moore County.
And Coach, going back to this Friday night, our Dugout Dad's Player of the Week this week is Dylan Raines. He had 19 carries for 165. I believe he had one or two scores.
I believe it was the one.
The one, yeah. And then the big long run. So touch on Dylan and how he's progressed this season and what you expect for him the rest of the year.
That's what we just got done talking about in our coaches meeting. He's had such a really good season, and he's such a good teammate too. We try to get a lot of guys involved. We try to get a lot of guys in football, and so we have kind of a back by committee right now where, we got Caden Mason back there. We got Dylan Raines back there. We got Max Long back there early in the season. We had Gabriel Myers, and of course we got Riley Martin as well trying to run the ball. So we've got a lot of guys that we're trying to give the ball to, and especially with our receiver situation. We're trying to get the ball to Gage Gibbs, Landon Blevins, Cole Hackett, Ben Howe, Lucas Cornwell. So we have a lot of guys that we're trying to get involved, and Jaden Preston trying to get involved into the offense, trying to get them to become contributors as much as we can to where they can be a part of the system. And so, Dylan, he never complains about, well, I want more touches. I need the ball here more. So he's a really great teammate in that, respect and that aspect of his game. And that's just hard to come by nowadays when you have a guy that is just such a great teammate that he's not going to complain if he's not getting the ball, if he's not getting his touches or not get his playing time. So when he does get his chance to perform and contribute, that's what he does. And, he had another great game against Cannon County with, like you said, the 19 touches that he turned into 160-something yards. And he provided us, a spark on offense when we needed it, with the two explosive runs. And he ran harder, and he's getting better each week. To this point, I think Dylan has still only played, 10 total football games. I think he played 3 or 4 in middle school, and now he's played 7 in high school. So he's still learning the game. He's still learning the position. I couldn't be more proud of him as how he's progressed, this season. I believe he's over 500 rush yards now on the season. For a guy that's first coming out to his high school football career, that's awesome. I think his yards per carry is over 5 right now, I believe. So once again, that's really good stuff for a guy who's kind of new to the sport, new to the game, and still adjusting to that level. But I'm super proud of him, proud of the impact he's had on this football team, the progress he's made in his gameplay. You see him getting better each week. And, just the fact that how good of a teammate he is right now, especially in a day and age now where there's so much individualism, around sports, whether it's, parents or players or whatever it is. And you see it at multiple levels. What was it? They had a report coming out about Dadgum Eagles. They were undefeated, I think, and you got the 2 star wide receivers are complaining about they don't get the balls. You're winning football games. Yeah. When did it not become enough to win football games that, you've got to get yours instead of being excited about everybody else on your team?
Yes.
So, that's just a huge thing that everybody's combating right now, that it's not enough to just be a good teammate, and, it's not enough to win games, or it's not enough to celebrate those around you. It's got to be about me, I. That's why I think Dylan does such a great job, that he never complains. When he gets his shot to roll, he goes and he performs, and I couldn't be more proud of Dylan.
And that takes us into our players segment this week, guys. And we got 3 players from Smith County High School here to join us tonight. And if you come out to the games, you see guys We're going to give you a little bit. Here's 77, Bryson Halliburton. He's your center. He's a senior leader. And then down here we got number 6, Lucas Cornwell. If you can't miss Lucas, he's like 6'47" or whatever how tall he is. And then Dylan Raines, which has a multitude of different numbers, it feels like, that he wears a different number every week. But, Coach, talk about those. You talked about Dylan, but talk about Lucas and Bryson a little bit and what they mean to your team.
Yeah, it's so weird looking at the screen right here because it's like flip-flop. I feel like I'm in a mirror dimension or something. So I was like, well, I'll start over here. But, yeah, I'll start over here just with Halliburton, with Bert over here. You know, if you don't know, Bert does a great Bert and Ernie impersonation. I'm sure that we could have a pretty good back and forth right now, but he might be a little too embarrassed to, project that on everybody, how great of an impersonation he has. But yeah, Bryson, he's a guy who's played all 4 years. He's been a leader on this football team the last 2 years, especially along the offensive line and defensive line. He's such a great hard worker in the weight room. The dude has improved his strength. He's improved his agility, the way that he can move off the football. But, the biggest thing that he provides is that leadership, staple, that leadership either in the weight room or in the locker room. He's part of our leadership council, and he just provides that stability, that rock, for our teams. And he doesn't just talk about it. He shows it in how hard he works, whether it's in the weight room or it's at practice or on Friday night. And he's had to learn different positions. We've had to move him around, whether due to injury or scheme or something like that. He started the year at tackle, and then he had to go back to center, and then he had to go back to tackle, and now he's having to play center again, and he never complains, and like I said, it goes back to being a teammate. It's so easy to just complain about, I don't want to do that. That's not going to benefit me. My mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle says I shouldn't have to do that, but he's not like that. He sits there, he shows up. I don't know if he's ever missed a day of practice. He's not leaving practice to get a haircut, at 3:00. He's not going to a dentist appointment at 2:45. He's not going to the doctor at 3:15. He's there every day. He works hard. He pays rent every single day, and he pays it with daggone blood, sweat, and just work ethic. And, I couldn't be more proud of him, how he has grown and developed over the last 4 years. He's getting multiple college offers now to play, and it's showing, that why these schools are interested in him is because of his work ethic. It's because of his intensity, the way that he plays the game. And, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of Bert and what he's done over his last 4 years, what he's done this season. Hopefully many more college offers come his way because he's very deserving of those things. Now he could probably be a comedian too, stand up, because of his impersonations. They're pretty good. If you just heard him talk, you thought, man, that's a pretty good Bert and Ernie, But then you got Lucas down here, Lucas Cornell. He's another guy, he's just a sophomore. He's still growing. He's still developing. If you saw his size and his beard, you probably wouldn't think that. You're like, well, he's already a grown man and paying a mortgage and probably child support or something. I don't know. But, he's a great young man. And just like Bert, too, these all three of these guys, I think, have like a 3.5 GP or higher. So they're a true student athlete. Their worth is not just measured of what they do on the football field. It's what they do in life. It's what they do at home. It's what they do in that school building. So many people get hung up on just what kind of athletes these kids are or what they can do for a football team, but it's what they can do for a community. It's what they can do for a family. And, Lucas is another one of these guys. You can tell he's very family-oriented young man. He has great grades, but then also he works so hard at what he does. He's another guy. He's got a few college offers as well. He's a big old rascal. He's probably 6'6", 220, but he's another guy that, just like Halliburton, he loves the weight room, and as a football player, as any high school athlete, you have to love the weight room, because the last time I checked, there's nothing wrong with becoming a bigger, faster, stronger athlete. It helps you in every sport, not just football. And it's a hard point to get across to a lot of young athletes and parents and everybody, that you don't just have to work out in football. If you get in a weight room or a speed program, becoming a bigger, faster, stronger athlete helps you in all sports. And Lucas has really taken off with that. He's probably gained 20, 25 pounds since last season. And for a guy like him to have such a big frame, that's huge with the weight that he can gain like that. And he's become a lot stronger. and he's become more agile and faster. And, he's had to play both sides of the ball for a lot of this season. The last few weeks, we've been able to kind of cater him more towards offense just to where maybe he doesn't get as tired. But, with some injuries that we're having, he'll probably have to go back to defense a little bit more. But, that's another thing. He doesn't complain. That's just how great of a teammate he is. He doesn't complain about, well, I shouldn't have to play defense. I'm just a tight end. Or, well, I should have the ball thrown my way more. Or, this, I want this, I need that. He's not entitled to anything, and he doesn't expect to be entitled to anything because he knows at the end of the day, it's what he works for. And that's what's so special about Lucas. He's going to work hard, and, he doesn't expect anything to just be given to him or handed to him. And he's just a fun kid to coach. Or a kid, he's a young man. He's 9 feet tall and has a beard. He's not a kid anymore. But he works so hard. I'm just proud of Lucas and everything that he does. Not just on the football field, but what he does in the school building, what he does away from football. I'm just as proud as him in that aspect. And we get him for a couple more years. I'm just even more excited on how he can continue to develop and how he can continue to grow and get better.
So, Jonathan, we'll start on your end. Let you ask those kids, Dylan and Lucas questions, and we'll be down to Bryson after you go.
Dylan, I'll start with you. So, playing as little football as you have, what challenges is it playing at the high school level?
It's just learning the plays and running them the right way.
And what do you want your legacy to be? Because you're a sophomore, correct? So you've got 2 more years. What do you want your legacy to be at Smith County High School?
I'd like to win state.
Turn it over to Lucas. Lucas, you are a
man. A few words.
Yeah, very few words. You are a mismatch problem because you are like 9 foot tall. So, being as tall as you are, and you're playing against kids that are 5'8", 5'9", what do you look at as a challenge for you getting open against smaller competition?
Oh, well, usually, guys that are my size, you don't see a lot of guys that are very quick at that size. So I guess the speed difference, there's not as much as you'd think, but there's still a little bit of, the quickness and stuff. In middle school, I was bigger and faster than guys, so it was a lot easier. In high school, the game changes. Kids are quicker. The speed of the game, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. So, and I'm going to ask you because you play baseball or just
sir.
Basketball and football.
Yes, sir.
No. So, what do you want your legacy to be? Whether it's football, basketball, what do you want your legacy to be here at Smith County High School?
Well, obviously, I'd like to win state in both. You got to win the region first. Well, you don't necessarily have to, but all that's a goal. Region, state,
Baby steps.
everything. Yes, sir.
Good deal.
Yeah. So Bryson, moving to you, a couple of you being a senior, your last time playing here at Smith County High School, you've been here for 4 years. You play the center position. You're a leader up front. What do you want to leave to the younger guys? Your work ethic, right? Your work ethic, you show them by example, but what do you want to leave to those younger guys being a senior leader on this team?
I really want to set the standard that's been set from my freshman year from them seniors. I want to leave that behind me. It's for the younger people below me, so they can leave that standard, and Smith County football still has its name. After I'm gone.
And I've enjoyed watching all 3 of you guys play. Right, I had the pleasure of actually coaching Lucas and Dylan in middle school for a year. But Russ, I really wish I had the pleasure of coaching you too. But watching you guys, and Coach Dyer said it, being a selfless teammate, means more to us people watching than you guys know, right? And Coach Dyer said it. You come out and you play wherever they need you to play. You go play those positions. And guys, we just got to give you guys kudos to that because you don't really know how much of an impact that has of people watching you and the younger guys watching you too, playing multiple different positions. So kudos to you guys for that. But we always like to do this too. So we want to give you the chance to give us your best Coach Dyer memory. You've been here longer than the other 2 guys. What is your best Coach Dyer memory that you can go from the last 4 years?
Probably my freshman year when we beat East Nashville and we won region on here. I think that was a 15-14 game, but we was all excited. We won the region. We was going to the playoffs. We wanted to make a deep run and win state that year.
And guys, for you, do you have any funny stories with Coach Dyer? Like
I
we won't let him get to you. I promise.
Lucas says he's got one.
Oh, I don't know how long ago it's been. It's probably been 2 months ago. When they in practice, Mongo got poked in the eye. And he was going crazy. He threw his helmet off. He didn't know what just happened to Coach Dyer. He said, "Ooh, I just stepped on it," and it creeped Mongo out. He thought he lost his eyeball.
He said when he heard me say, "Oh my gosh, I just stepped on it." He said, "You stepped on my eye?" I'm just kidding, Mongo. I wasn't gonna let that one go too long because he was pretty worried.
Dylan, same question to you.
Mine's probably whenever I got a good run, he was running, jumping up and down the sideline.
Hey, and if you guys, anybody's watching here, if you've not been to a Smith County football game yet, and you've not watched Coach Dyer and his animations on the sidelines, when somebody does something good, you know it because Coach Dyer is going one win to the other. He runs more than any coach I think I've ever seen coaching high school football.
So the funniest thing was, I think it was Lucas that showed me the video on the muffed punt that we were covering, and I didn't even realize it. Ben Howe and me, we met right there, and I think he headbutted me. I'm not sure. But we did a chest bump, and I turned away, and I didn't even realize what happened to Ben. Lucas shows me the video, and Ben just falls down. I'm like, oh, my gosh, what are we doing? Oh, me. I have to show him that video. I was like, come on, Ben.
So, guys, we appreciate you guys coming out tonight. But like I said, you guys don't know what kind of impact you guys have on the younger generation. And everybody comes to watch you guys. So I really hope you guys cherish that moment. And I know you guys do. And Bryson, you're being a senior, your last go around, what are you looking at your aspirations going past Smith County High School?
Well, I want to go play college football, and I'm going to try my best to take that and get my college paid for as much as I can, and my school. I'm going to try to take my GPA and my ACT score and try to get as much as I can paid for. That's my goal. I mean, I work every day for football. I mean, it's a fun sport. I pour my heart out to it, but yeah.
That's great. That's great to hear.
That's awesome.
And Coach Dyer, any last words about your team here?
I just, how proud I am of these guys. It's we always try to tell them, reiterate to them, things don't always happen the way you want them to. That's why football is such a great teacher, of the game of life, not just the game of football, is that at some point something's going to go wrong, not just within a game, but within your life. You're going to have some type of adversity strike you. And, it can happen within a football game. It can happen at a young age. It can happen at an older age. As you grow up, you're going to become, hopefully one day a husband. You're going to become a father. You're going to become a member of your community, a contributor to your community. And how dependable are you going to be? So, we always talk about trust on a football field. Be the guy that everybody wants to trust the most. That's what you should strive for on a football team. You should be the guy that everybody's fighting for to get in the foxhole with you. That's a point that we just try to press home with our guys, and that goes back to being a good teammate. You should be the guy that everybody's tugging at to be like, if we're digging foxholes, you're getting in with me because I trust you the most. And if you've got a team full of those guys, then you can do really good things. So that's what we try to teach all of our guys and try to tell all of our guys to understand that point is that's what being a good teammate is. It's that you are willing to sacrifice, your own for the betterment of other guys and for the betterment of your team. And it's like, be the most guy that you can be dependent on, because if one day you're going to have, a wife dependent on you to provide, you're going to have a family, a young son, young daughter, children depending on you to provide. So like I said, it goes outside of the realm of a football field and the 100 yards. And, that is what happens on that field. So that's what we just try to teach our guys within the game of football. How are you going to handle that adversity? Are you going to lay down and bleed a little bit, or are you going to get up, multiple times? It's not about just getting up one time, because you're going to continuously have some other person physically try to move you against your will. Are you going to allow them to continue to move you against your will, or are you going to do something about it? And Halliburton said, the standard, we actually talked about that the other day. What does that mean? Those are trigger words that we always send around: standard, culture, discipline, accountability, and all that. So it's like, what do those words actually mean? You know, we talked to our guys the other day. It's like when you hear that, the word standard, what is that? And, you know, most of them talked about, you know, it's the legacy that others brought before you, but it's also other things too. It's just doing all the little things right. That is a part of the standard. You know, whether it's throwing away the tape that you cut off your ankles in a locker room, whether it's keeping your locker clean, whether it's, you know, doing everything that you need to in the classroom so you don't get pulled out of practice, you know, for detention or RTI or whatever it is we have now. But those all are things part of the standard. And it's not just about a football game. It's about how you're going to respond in life when those adversities happen to you, when those obstacles happen to you. Are you just going to lay down and quit and point fingers and blame it on everybody else? Or are you going to thrive to get up past that? You know, so another thing I was talking about is like, you're in control of you. You're in control of your attitude, your actions, and your effort, nobody else. And so when you can control those three things, okay, and you can live up to the standard, you can live up to the expectations being placed on you, okay, you can truly achieve great things. So that's what we try to just kind of push forward to our guys in understanding those things.
Well, Coach, players, we wish you all the best of luck this week going 1-0 against Moore County. Dylan, if you'll stick around, we'll get a picture with you. But, guys, appreciate it.
Guys, appreciate y'all. Everything y'all do for all of our athletes, our student athletes, our community. It's awesome. And, you know, like I said the other day, man, I really had fun sitting there calling that game.
We appreciate you calling
Dude,
it. You've done a heck of a job.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
I
You did a heck of a
I
job.
might try to, I don't know, if y'all had me a mic down there on Friday night, I'd do a play-by-play too while we're coaching the game or something.
That'd be awesome,
But,
actually.
guys, appreciate
Yeah.
y'all. All right,
Thanks,
thank y'all
Coach.
very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys. And Dylan, if we can get you to come in, we'll give you a shirt here. We'll get a picture with you real quick. As Jonathan said, our Dugout Dash Player of the Week for week number 7 is Dylan Raines. Had 19 carries for 165 yards. So we'll get a picture with Dylan.
Hold it up just a little bit higher. There we go.
Thanks, Dylan. Congratulations, buddy.
Yep.
And Jonathan, you know, once again, we talk about, you know, not the outcomes we kind of wanted this week. You know, they get beat, but they get another chance, right? You move on, you get another chance, right?
You can't look in that rearview mirror.
No.
There's as I've said numerous times, there's a reason the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. And you know, you had some turnovers this past week. You had some things that didn't go your way, but you know, looking at these 3 young men here, there's leadership in these 3 young men, and that's what you have to have. You know, after that game, you've got to have leaders of your team to move forward.
So let's touch on the Gornsville game real quick, and we'll get out of here. We're a little over time right now. We'll touch on the Gornsville game. Gornsville goes up to Westmoreland and wins a big easy win. Looked like an easy win for those guys. Holds those guys to less than 70 yards total offense. So kudos to Coach Jackson and his team, now sitting at 7-0 in the year.
Absolutely. You know, just another, like we talk about each week. You know, the train is a rolling, and you look at it. You don't give up a single passing yard. They had 69 yards on the ground, and that was it. And just amazing right now at looking at the stats, looking at what Gordonsville's doing. I mean, you're up 28-0 at half, pretty much. You know, at that point in time, it's a lot, pretty much, because you're not giving up much, and then they come out, score 2 touchdowns in the second half. I can't say enough good things about what Coach Jackson and his staff are doing right now.
Yeah, and before we move on real quick, guys, prayers to the Smith County player that got injured Friday night here, and to the Gornsville player that got injured this past Friday night. And both of them gets put out, went out on the car. So, prayers to those guys to make sure they're good and healthy. But going back to the game, you look at it, and the defense, the way Gornsville's playing defense right now, they graduated 12, 14 kids last year, and you really thought there was going to be maybe a little setback, but they are rolling. They're 7-0. They got Trousdale County coming into town this week, looking to go now 3-0 in the region, or actually 4-0 in the region. No, 3-0 in the region. They played 2 games. 3-0 in the region against Trousdale County, and Trousdale County's played pretty decent the last few weeks, but man, anybody's going into the jungle right now is going to have a tough time to win.
Absolutely, and you look, you've got some big region games coming up this week. Trousdale is going to go to the jungle. Cannon's going to play Jackson, so we'll start seeing maybe some separation this week. Again, it seems like the cream of the crop right now in that region is Gordonsville, and man, I kudos to them.
And this week's player of the week for Gornsville will be Bryson Cripps. Their defense just had an outstanding game, right? I mean, Bobby Cripps. Sorry, there's all the Cripps guys are out there. You got Leighton and Bobby and Bryson. You got them, JR. You got them all, right? But kudos to Bobby Chris for being this week's Dugout Dads Player of the Week. Their defense, once again, is outstanding. And somebody just put on their starters only played one series in the second. So I mean,
Wow.
Wow.
And that's giving that younger group experience that's only going to benefit you going further down the road.
And you look at it, you got Jay Foster playing quarterback and all those receivers and that running that triage of running backs they got. And man, they are just a force right now to be reckoned with. But I'm looking forward to that week 10, week 11 matchup with Smith County going over in the jungle.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be electric. It's lock the doors, shut the windows. It's going to be a fun atmosphere at the jungle in a few more weeks.
So congratulations to Coach Jackson and the Tigers going 7-0 this week. Picking up that win against Westmoreland, and they get Travisville County this week over in Gornsville. So, Jonathan, we went a little bit of overtime this week, but a great player segment. We appreciate all the middle school guys coming out, all the high school guys coming out. We appreciate our sponsors once again. Kobe McKinney, our with Underwood Realty is our title sponsor, and then #Hollies and Be the Gift, Infinity Promotions, and then Big A, Anthony Hackett with Farm Bureau.
Yes, Farm Bureau.
So Jonathan, once again, we'll come back next week and we'll do it again here live from Smith County High School. You can't beat it. We got the lights on. We'll get the field in the background. Matthew, once again, thank you for producing our show, and Jonathan, thanks for doing this with me. I love doing this, guys, and we appreciate all of our watchers and our listeners every week. We'll put out our weekly pick 'em, beat the dads here in a bit. But from the Dugout Dads, where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
Until next time.